Looking for the most CPU demanding games on Android this week on purpose, because I want to try to break this thing, and I'll get to how that went. But first, I gotta explain why I really even bothered, because on paper, this is just another 9-inch tablet, and the tablet aisle, or wherever you look online, is like the most boring aisle in tech. Most people know which one they're buying before they even walk into a store. So then REDMAGIC put a liquid cooling loop inside their Astra 2 tablet. But I know how that sounds, but sort of stick with this process, because by the end of this, I either wasted 40 gigabytes of downloads for nothing, or this is the most fun I've had with the tablet in years. And before I get to all that, and there's a lot to get to with REDMAGIC, let me get to you. I'll give you a chance to win $500. I'm doing this for years. I love doing it, chance to give back and say thank you. Tell me the first game you are going to fire up on your new REDMAGIC tablet. You can leave one comment per day for 10 days, watch the video all the way through, give the video a thumbs up, it's open to anyone in the world. Information you need, way down below. I do want to give a quick bit of context, because REDMAGIC is probably not the name most people have on the tip of their tongue, especially when it comes to tablets. I've worked with them for a long time. They spent years building kind of gaming phones with actual fans and cooling systems inside, back when the idea of a phone with a fan sounded insane. So a REDMAGIC tablet with a cooling loop, it isn't some company swinging way outside of their lane. This is their lane. This is the thing they've been getting good at for years. With the tablet, they've finally given it room to kind of stretch out. So I trust the pedigree here, and I think that matters. So let me show you tablet first, because I don't know, the body's not really the story here. It's a 9-inch slab. It weighs 360-ish grams. And the first time I picked it up, my hands, I kept kind of waiting for it to feel heavier, but that never came. The back is completely flat with no camera bump. The one I've got here, it's in Starfrost Silver. There's a black one called Eclipse. There's RGB lighting on the back and a clear window kind of showing off the cooling hardware. So I don't think low key or subtle is obviously not what they were going for. That transparent window on the back matters way more than it looks, because the cooling behind it is to solve a very specific problem. So this tablet is running the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, and it is the fastest chip you can put in an Android device right now. It's also a chip, in my testing, that I've watched cook itself from the inside in just about every other phone that it ships in. Push a phone hard and it will throttle, because a sealed slab has really nowhere to send all that heat back. So it just backs down the performance, sort of keep from burning in your hand. REDMAGIC grabbed that same chip, wrapped a real cooling system around it to kind of see if they could just let it run. And that was a whole experiment here. So cooling is the whole headline, so I wanted to test it, I think in the most extreme way possible. I just Googled the most demanding Android games I could find, because the entire pitch here is that this thing handles anything, so I wanted to see if I could break it. First of all, I'd forgotten how absurdly large Genshin had gotten. I hadn't played it in probably about a year or so. Basic resource pack is 30 gigs, and the full one's almost 40. My unit had 512 gigabytes, so it swallowed all of it without me having to think about freeing up space if I had to delete. So then I sat down and did what you're not supposed to do, is crank all of these all the way up and just sort of wait for it to kind of fall apart, or sort of start to throttle after 5-10 minutes. I played all these different games for, it was about 45 minutes total, back to back to back to back to back, to sort of see what would happen. Frame rate was holding steady. The device was warm. It wasn't cold, but it was not the oven temperatures you'd expect. And it did keep going. And then watching a liquid cooling actually work through that little window, I thought was kind of cool to see. I'm not going to pretend I can tell you exactly what's moving all that heat around in there. REDMAGIC has a full liquid cooling setup with liquid metal and a big vapor chamber. Whatever recipe they combined those two, it did work. And I could run these games at full throttle for as long as I wanted. I was a limiting factor, and it wasn't sort of heat like it's been on every other device. The display, I think, is also a big part of why the Astra 2 lands really well. So it's a 9-inch OLED 2.4K running at 185 hertz, faster than most in its class, and you notice it the first 10 seconds of using it. And because it's OLED, you get the deep blacks and the color that make games and movies look really good. Not just tablet great, but really great. It also gets bright enough to use outside, and the touch sensitivity is tuned for gaming, so it reacts instantly to your touch. There was one part of this that did make me scratch my head a little bit. It's got Corning Gorilla Glass 3, which is old. I had to go back and look this up, like 2013 old. And for a 2026 tablet, it was a weird corner to cut, so I'd probably put a case on it to be safe. Since this lives at home and not in like your pocket, I think the risk is lower than it'd be on a phone, but you should know that at least going in. Where it really walks away from your phone is sound though. Dual speakers with DTS-X that get loud and full in a way a phone is never gonna come close to matching. Watching a movie on the couch after my kids went to sleep or playing something with a real soundtrack, you do feel that difference. There are dual haptic motors too in here that give you a really satisfying kind of little rumble during games. And once you've lived at that for a while, picking up your phone, at least on the audio side, it feels very flat. Battery is beastly too, so on the Astra 2, it's 8,300 milliamp hours, which REDMAGIC is very proud of. And I will gently point out that it's exactly 100 milliamp hours more than last year's Astra. So same battery, basically. The reason it actually lasts longer isn't the size of the cell, it's that the new chip sips less power and the cooling lets it run more efficiently the whole time. In real use, I got a full day of kind of mixed gaming and video without babying it at all. Long gaming sessions, you could probably stretch for 7 to 8-ish hours, depending on the game. So it's nice to know. If you do have to charge it up, it'll charge fast, 75 watts over dual USB-C ports. It'll also reverse charge your phone too, if you want. Worth knowing though, no charger in the box. So unless you grab one of the early bird deals, which is kind of normal these days, but just know you're not gonna get a brick in the box. REDMAGIC leans hard into their gaming software, and it's done a really good job with it. And a huge chunk of it, I think, is really useful. So there's a feature inside, if you look for it, called Gravity X. That's you plug in a keyboard and mouse and sort of throw the screen onto a monitor or TV. It's only your 9-inch tablet, so you get a pretty convincing impression of a tiny console. There's a frame boost feature, which I thought was worth knowing about. The marketing essentially says you can play certain games at 120 frames per second. What's really happening though is the tablet just inserting extra frames between the real ones. It does look smoother, and for a lot of games that's great, but it's not like the same thing as actually 120 hertz. And every now and then you could feel it. Just again, know that going in. The real performance is still incredibly impressive. So here's where it fits into a real week. And that's kind of because this is the part that sold me on it. It lived on my coffee table, on my kitchen table. It was a thing that I grabbed and I wanted to play something without sitting at my desk or squinting at my phone. Throw it in the bag for flights, 9-inch OLED, it's small profile, running a real game at altitude, beats a tiny seat kind of screen at the back of it. I thought anytime. So who is this one for? If you want a dedicated machine for gaming, kind of leisure stuff, something that runs really demanding games for hours without melting, and a beautiful screen with speakers that can fill a room, and do most of your stuff on Wi-Fi anyways, this is a really fun device to look at. So this thing, I don't know what I expected. I know REDMAGIC phones and they've been awesome. This kept that legacy going in a larger package. And if you want a tablet that can really do everything really well, I think you owe it yourself to at least look at the Astra 2. And if you do want to check it out, any other REDMAGIC stuff, link will be down below.